couple years ago I was on Craigslist and saw a free sailboat and thought, wow, I should go get one of those. That'd be great. It was quite a distance away, so I thought about who could go with me, and who's going to do this trip. It's going to take two people for sure, and man, it's going to be great. Could be a lot of fun, big adventure. Uh, but I couldn't quite figure out anybody that had the time, and quite honestly, who could put up with me that long in a boat? I only know one person, that's my wife. So kind of put that to the side, not to mention I didn't know anything about the boat. Not knowing anything about the boat was one of the bigger factors of not taking on a free boat. So it went to the wayside. Fast forward a few years, I travel up to the North Slope up in Prudhoe working a job, and I asked this guy what he likes to do. He asked me what I like to do, and I tell him I like to go sailing, and he says he's got a buddy with a sailboat, a free sailboat he'd give him. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Where's it at? He goes, oh, it's out in King Cove, Alaska. And I said, I know that boat. A couple years ago I looked at that online, and turns out it's the same one. He's real good friends with the owner, Bob, and Bob told us all about the boat while we were working on that job, and we probably spent a good 2.5 months talking every day about how to go and get this boat. Now this guy that I was going to go get this boat with, he says, well, we'll partner on it. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of being a partner on a boat, so I told him I'd give him a few grand, and I'll put a few grand towards going to get that boat. It'll be a good time. We ended up working some more, and as everything goes, the timing wasn't right because it was going into fall, and that's when it was midsummer, and going into fall, another job was starting. This one was winding down, and the next job looked pretty good. It was going to be at least 6 months, so couldn't say no to that job. So I jumped ship, so to say, and went and worked on this other job, and still stayed in communication with my buddy. And he says he ended up coming onto that job later on in the end, and ended up talking about it again, thinking how much fun it'd be. But at the same time, we're still looking at time, and time being the biggest factor is who has the time to go get a boat that's 600 miles away. So it's roughly 600 nautical miles from King Cove to Seward, Alaska, and that's where I want to keep the boat. Well, at this point, we're still partnered up on this boat deal, and we're both going to go get it. But my buddy ended up changing jobs again, and he's still working jobs, and called me up and said he couldn't make the trip. So trip was off. It's no good, and you know, the boat's probably just going to get scrapped. So I called up the harbor down in King Cove and asked if they'd scrap the boat. And this is after about a week of sitting on the news that our trip was canceled. And here I was thinking this is going to be a perfect time to go get this sailboat, because shoot, all the work's drying up, and everyone's getting sent home, and this and that. So I thought, well, this is going to be a real good time to go get that boat. And there's only a couple month window, 2 months or so, when they say is a good time to go the direction from west to east down the Shelikof Straits. And so anyway, I call up the harbor down there, and well, they haven't been told anything about scrapping the boat yet. So I get a hold of the owner, track him down, call him up, and he just doesn't know why I want this boat. He keeps asking me, well, why don't you go buy a sailboat in Seward? I said, well, you know, I know about your boat. I know you took care of it. I've been listening to the stories of your boat for the last year and a half or so. And he wasn't too thrilled that his boat's still sitting there, and I was kind of just saying, well, you know, I got to tell this guy why do I want that boat? You know, it's what do I expect out of this boat? I said, well, I was talking to Bob. Bob's the owner, and he says, you could buy a boat in Seward, and you wouldn't have to deal with all the hassle of getting out there, and you even know what you're getting into. I told him that for the most part, I'm getting into a hull, sailboat hull. Comes with a mast and rigging, and everything else is questionable. And I already know there's going to be a few holes in the hull from the stories he's told us already. So I went ahead and pled my case to Bob and told him I'd prefer to have a boat with a story and an adventure, and the adventure being the biggest part. That's what I'm looking for. Is I want to go do something. I want to have a real adventure. Tired of looking around doing the same thing every day, and it's always one thing or another. But an adventure is what I think is really going to stir me up again, get me going. And it's been a long time since I've been on the water. I say a long time, but it's been a few years since I've been on a live-aboard situation on the water, or a long-term water adventure. So I thought this is going to be the great adventure I need. And the only person I'd really go on this adventure with would be my wife, and or my other buddy that had to take another job and called me and let me know about this boat trip was canceled. So those are the two people I'd actually go on the boat with. My buddy, he's real handy. Boy, he could fix anything. He's real handy with tools, and he can come up with solutions for pretty much anything broken. So that would have been great. He didn't have much sailing experience, but he had a lot of outdoor experience, and I was really looking forward to it. But him getting work elsewhere and whatnot, I tell you, it's really opened up the thought of, what would happen if something went wrong out there. Well, I told him that I could do this. I could bring it back, and who's to say that I have the skills to do it. I think I do. I think I can figure it out. But if something were to happen and something happened to him, boy, that wouldn't feel too good. So maybe him not going was the right thing. But the way this boat keeps coming back to me, I feel is kind of the universe saying, hey, you need to get on this boat and go do this. So every time I think about it, I get real excited, and I think, oh yeah, it'd be great is let's document the whole thing, because I haven't been down there. I've talked to the harbor master and talked to the grocery store down there, and nobody seems to be willing to go over and get me a picture of the boat in the current condition. Last picture I have is 6 years old, and the boat's been ransacked. Don't know who or why, but someone was bored and went through and tore the thing up, so I can pretty much assume there's nothing in there salvageable, and I'm still game. So I'm starting to piece together stuff, piece together things I think I'm going to need to go in there, fix it up, and sail it out. I'm buying a one-way ticket, and that way I don't have a backup plan. Of course, there is a backup plan, but worst case scenario, I fly home without the boat. But I'm gathering everything I can to go down there and fix this boat, get it in the water, and sail it back to Seward. The best part about this trip is the location. It's almost as far west as you can go, and far west as I'd be willing to go, at least. Airport's one cove or so over from the location I'm going to. So I started ordering parts and pieces. This is all after I met with Bob. I met with Bob in town, and I bought a free boat from Bob, and we sat and talked for, I want to say, probably 4 hours. Had lunch and talked for about 4 hours, had lunch, and he signed the boat over to me on a bill of sale. And I guess he just wanted to meet me a little bit and talk before we got into the whole deal. So I say I bought a free boat because every boat you own is going to take everything you can throw at it. Just a matter of how much stuff are you going to throw at it. So I'm going to try and get it as cheap as possible and bring it back with just the bare necessities that are going to make the trip comfortable or tolerable. Most importantly, I got to have fun doing it, and I think it's going to be great. So I started ordering parts and pieces after talking to Bob and signing over the papers. Once I got the boat in my name, I started spending money on it. That money's going fast. I had just a little bit of a nest egg put aside for a boat, and I've been on Craigslist, I don't know, probably at least 10 hours a week looking on boats and seeing what's there and what's going to happen. The night before I went to meet Bob, I told my wife I was going to go buy a boat. She's like, "Really? When?" I said, "Well, tomorrow." And she goes, "Oh, well, what kind of boat is this?" I said, "Well, it's that Fuji 32 that I told you about a couple years ago." And she goes, "The one you showed me a picture of?" It's like, "Yep." And I said, "Yeah, that's the one." She goes, "Well, that's terrific." So she's excited. She says, "Can't wait for you to go on this trip. You've been talking about going on a trip for a long time." So she's really excited, and she's also really excited to get a sailboat again. So we're pretty happy about that. She's really excited to get to Seward and go out sailing on the weekends and get back on the water, because we both love the water. So the rest of this is parts and pieces, gathering, collecting, ordering. It's all real now, and part of that is videoing this and starting a YouTube channel so everybody can take a look, see what I'm going through, how it's going. And most importantly, if you can't get out there and have the fun that I'm having right now, or the adventure, struggle, whatever this turns into, at least you can watch this and say, "Hey, look at this Yahoo. He's doing what he wanted." Hope I have fun doing it. We'll see how it turns out.